Nigeria's first Muslim radio.
Welcome back. It's still Breakfast with Ian, brought to you live on Ian Radio, Nigeria's first Muslim radio. And as always, you're welcome to our training lifestyle segment where we come on air to discuss several topics that cut across our day-to-day lifestyle. And today, like we mentioned earlier on, we're discussing a very important topic, a very fundamental topic. And I won't be doing this alone. I'm Rahmatullahi Ibrahim. I have with me Hafiz Sulaiman.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And in case you're wondering, we are not going to be taking this topic alone. We have our Ustadh in the house, Ustadh Abd'Kabir Nasir Al-Asfar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir. So, Hafiz, I would like you to introduce this topic for us this morning.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi, dear listeners. Inshallah ta'ala, it's great. I'm so happy to be here today, inshallah, to discuss this particular topic with our Ustadh today. I'm here to learn anyways, I'm here to learn. Our Ustadh will be telling us, inshallah, so much about the topic of divorce. So many people have the divorcees, and you can see it outside. People are just outside, they don't even, probably they think when they got married, things will work out for them, and long run, things is not happening. And what is the proper way of getting a divorce or something? It's not just about going to the court or something, writing letters and all of that stuff. There has to be spirituality, because in our deen, marriage is something of comes with a spiritual essence. And so when we're getting divorced, it needs to be in that trend too. So inshallah ta'ala, our Ustadh today will be taking us through how we can divorce and methods, and in accordance to the Quran and Sunnah, inshallah.
Now, so Ustadh, to start with, please, can you give us a very, a very concise and detailed, at the same time, explanation on the main essence of talaq in Islam, divorce?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala man la nabiyya ba'da, Muhammad nadallah, salawatu rabbina wa salam alayhi wa ba'd. Ikhwat al-kiram, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
I have to combine between concise and then detailed. Yeah. The topic that was given to me was divorce, in brackets, talaq. So let me take it this way. Ordinarily, the fuqaha, when I say the fuqaha, I mean the jurists. So I may be throwing these terms around. So let me make a short definition of these terms. When I say the fuqaha, I mean the jurists, those who look at Islamic jurisprudence, those who are able to derive rules and regulations from the Quran, the Sunnah. When I use terms like ulama, I mean scholars. So I may use these terms, trade them around, so I don't want to be just throwing jargons around. Ulama will tell us that we have nikah, which is the coming together of the male and the female in matrimony, and we have firaq. So I prefer the word firaq. Firaq literally means separation. Before delving into that, let me say that when you look at the chapters of Islamic jurisprudence, Al-Fiqh Islami, you have these two major chapters I've seen. The first one is Salah. You have this in any fiqh book, any book on Islamic jurisprudence, the largest percentage is usually occupied by fiqh, followed by this issue we're discussing, marriage, separation, what comes after it. This also occupies a very large volume of the Islamic jurisprudential library, if that expression can be correct. And the third one would be your transactions and so on and so forth. Let me go back to what I was saying. So I prefer using the word firaq. If nikah is a coming together of husband and wife, or spouses, as the case may be, then firaq is a separation. And we have about 5 or 6 of them. I hope my memory does not fail me. One of them is talaq, which is the male-initiated divorce. We have the khulu', which is the female-initiated divorce. We have the ila. The ila is a situation whereby a man swears or behaves in such a way that he doesn't want to cohabit with his wife again. This is also a form of separation with his rules. We have dhihar, where the man, this is probably an Arab thing, the man would look at his wife and then make his wife similar to his mother or his sister or anybody who Islamically it is not allowed for him to have sexual intercourse with. So this is also a form of separation in Islamic jurisprudence. We have what is called li'an, where the man accuses his wife of infidelity and he cannot provide evidences. This is also a form of separation. And we have what is called the fasq. Fasq in this case is something that is the product of a judicial process. The qadi, the judge, is the one that will separate spouses on this. So you have all this going under what firaq is.
Mm-hmm.
So if the time is there, we may discuss them one after the other. So I don't know if I'll go on or pause.
Well, that was to start with. That was very, very concise and detailed at the same time. And so I hope that we all are listening and we said talaq, and now we know that there is way much more to it as regards separation of a couple of marriage partners in Islam. In case you want to join this conversation, the number to dial is 080-9640-5786. So Ustadh, please fire on as regards this several aspects of firaq as you have said.
So with the word separation, it's clear what we mean. That those who were living as husband and wife would cease to be husband and wife, and they would go their separate ways. So first and foremost, we need to understand there's a hadith that says أبغض الحلال عند الله الطلاق. The most detested permissible thing in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is divorce. This hadith is not authentic, but the meaning is when you study separation of erstwhile spouses and you see the rules and regulation, if you meta-analyze this, you realize that the Sharia doesn't want a divorce. The Sharia does not want a divorce. We put into mind that at the time we are getting married, one of those verses that will be read is وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِنْ أَنفُسِكُم. At the end of that verse, Allah says وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. In marriages, we want there to be love and we want there to be mercy. When there's a separation from the husband, from the wife, it means that mercy and love have become absent, rare or diminished as the case may be. So going on, the question to ask is that what is the rule on talaq? What is the rule on khulu? As I said, what is the rule on this? The scholars are agreed that it is permissible. Talaq is permissible, mubah. Before going on this, also let me throw up a bit some few jargons and then explain them. Please, if I'm going too deep,
we'll let you know.
So all of human action are governed by 5 basic rules, according to the majority of the scholars. The Ahnaf differ a bit, so we're not in a fake class. So according to the majority of Jews, all our actions as human beings are governed by these 5 rules: the wajib, the compulsory. It means that the compulsory means that Allah commands you to do this, and you are liable to be punishment. Not the word liable to be punished if you don't do it. The opposite is the haram. Allah prohibits you from doing this. Doing it makes you liable to be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we have what is what is permissible, the halal. You don't have a sin, you don't have a reward if you do it. We have what is makruh on the other end, what is detested, and then we have what is highly encouraged, the mandub, the mustahab, and so on. So I hope these 5 rules are clear. So if they are clear, ulama say that yes, at-talaq fil aslu mubah. Talaq ordinarily is allowed, but you find ulama say that, but it is khilaful awla. Khilaful awla means that yes, even if it is permissible, it is not encouraged. It is not encouraged. So some of our jurists say that the rules of talaq follow all these 5 rules. I said, ab initio, the default rule is that talaq is allowed, even though it's frowned upon, but talaq follows all the 5 rules I mentioned. Talaq can be compulsory in the case that the husband is sure that he is married to a woman who is a woman who is engaged in infidelity. So he is mandated by the Sharia to divorce her, especially if he wants to avoid the threats of punishment that is given to the daif. The daif is the one who does not care what happens to his wife. So the divorce in this case will be compulsory on the man, and it may be mustahab. if he feels that, well, my staying with this woman may make me do things that I cannot control, I may beat her to a pulp in such a way that I'll injure her, then it becomes encouraged for him to divorce her. Divorce may just be permissible, as I said earlier. It may be makruh, that means dislike. Say, take for instance, if there's a husband who is married to this woman, and this woman actually is the one that wakes him up for tahajjud. The man sleeps off. Like this morning, it was my wife that woke me up for the program. So if I divorce, if this man divorces a woman like this, wakes him up for tahajjud, ulama will say it's makruh, because at the end of the day, he missed the tahajjud. I mean, this was said before the advent of smartphones anyway.
Wow.
So,
Well.
and then divorce can also be haram. I mean, divorce follows all these five rules, and then there are mechanics involved in each of these. Maybe as I go on, I'll start discussing them one after the other. There are details involved that in each of all this.
Wow. Well, that is very. I hope I've learned your life. I feel like I'm being schooled right now, right in the studio, and I'm pretty sure that those who are listening are also being schooled at the same time. Well, so in case you're still wondering if you have questions, the lines are not open at the moment, but next few minutes the lines will be open for your questions. So now, Ustaz, as regards the divorce being compulsory in some cases, the divorce being permissible in some cases, it being disliked, it being, in several cases, which, as regards the ayah of the Quran that talks about talaq, was it regarding a specific situation in that regard?
Yeah. So let me start with this two. Let me take the talaq and the female initiated divorce simultaneously. Now, thank you very much for that question. Actually, I wanted to talk about this. If you want to read about talaq in the Quran, I mean, it's the rules of the Quran. I mean, you don't find the rules of the Quran in one place. You find them scattered all over. So you go through Surah Al-Baqarah, starting from verses 221 to 241 or so. Between this, you have the verses of talaq scattered all around. You have a verse in Surah Al-Ahzab. You have, and then you have an entire surah named after talaq. It's Surah Al-Talaq. Yeah. So you have in these verses Allah saying in Surah Al-Talaq, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu idha talaqtumun nisaa fatalliquhunna li'iddatihin. Now this verse is saying that, oh Prophet, the Prophet is just being addressed, but it's all the ummah, because the verb that follows is plural. The verse started by addressing a single person, that is the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it says idha talaqtum. I mean, if you Muslims divorce women, then you must divorce women in their iddah. So I'll talk a bit about this also. You have verses in Surah Al-Baqarah saying at-talaqu maratani fa imsakum bi ma'rufin aw tasrihun bi ihsan. You have verses in Surah Al-Baqarah talking about the female initiated khulu'u fala junah alayhima fi ma iftadat bihi. When the woman decides that I've had enough, I want to opt out of this. So, talking about, the question you ask is that, are there specific instances these things happen? Of course, these things happened at the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Prophet himself divorced women. Divorce, as I said earlier, is not something to be found at times. It is the best thing for the individual. For the khulu'u, the female initiated divorce, the first one that happened at the time of the Prophet was one of the woman called Jamila to Al-Khazrajiyya. According to some scholars, her name is Jamila Al-Khazrajiyya, the wife of Thabit bin Qais. She went to the Prophet and said, Thabitu bin Qais la a'ibu alayhi khuluqan wa la dina. I have no problem with my husband's character or his deen. Lakin la uhibbu al-kufra fil Islam. But I hate kufr in Islam. And the Prophet asked her, Ataruddina alayhi hadiqatah. Would you return the garden he gave you as a burial price? And then she said, of course, I'm ready. And then the Prophet turned to her husband and said, Tabliqa. So you have these things were happening in every society. These things happen. So we don't want our marriages to collapse, especially given the fact that people who have understanding in our community are very, very small. And people look at people who have an understanding of Sunnah as role models. So if we cannot keep homes, if we cannot save our marriages, how on earth will people look at us as role models? So it's one of the reasons why we don't want talaq to exist in our community. It is the last thing we want to exist, but at the same time we need to understand pragmatically divorces would come. Divorces would occur. The best of generation is the generation of the companions of the Prophet, and there were divorces. So we need to put this into perspective. Yes, there were divorces based on historical circumstances, and then that is why we have these rules in the Sharia about the divorce.
Now, Ustaz, can you please expatiate more as regards the divorce initiated by the woman?
Now, funny enough, when I was going through my books, I realized that at least the Malikiya, that the school of thought followed by the entirety of West Africa and also in Nigeria, and I would advise brothers who have access to, who can read the scholarly materials on this issue, to study Maliki fiqh. Why? This is because the entirety of Nigeria, we have the Sharia law that operates in Nigeria, especially the northern part of Nigeria, from Ilorin upwards, is just plainly Maliki law. So when you want to advise somebody to seek divorce in the court, you need to get an understanding of what are these people saying. What I mean, it's the rule. If you want to do anything that has to do with divorce and that has to do with will, the law they're going to implement on you in this part of the world is going to be Maliki law. So you have to have an understanding of it, even if you are going to disagree with this. So what I discovered was that the Malikiya, the Hanabila, I didn't check the other books of the jurists, they put the female-initiated divorce first. They put the female-initiated divorce first. Also, as I said about the male-initiated one, the talaq, it is also frowned upon. The Prophet said, Al-Muqtali'at hunna munafiqat. Those who seek divorce, females who seek divorce, are hypocrites. This hadith is not to be understood absolutely. It means females who seek divorce without there being a legitimate reason. I mean, you can't decide that you want to divorce your husband because you saw somebody who could read the Quran better than your husband and say, I don't like the way my husband pronounces sin as shame. I mean, it seems funny, but this thing is actually happening. Sister come to you and say, I hate the way my husband is reciting the Quran. What's the problem? It's when he says sin, he says shame. When he says shame, he says sin. And probably the man is from Ibadan, you know. This is not. I'm not disrespecting before that, but it's not a big deal. Just as the Arabs have alphabet they cannot pronounce. The Arabs do not have a C, so they cannot say Coca-Cola. The Arab would say Coca-Cola. They don't have a P, so they don't a B, so they can't say foot. Okay, they don't have a P or rather. So it's the same way. There are accents that have problems with this. So your husband not being able to recite the Quran should be a sufficient reason for problem. That's my view. So, however, the female-initiated khulu'u can't be done by the woman herself. She has to sit down with a panel of jurists, or she has to sit down with judges, and then they would now decide that yes, you have legitimate reasons to seek a call they bring the husband, and if they find out that yes, she has legitimate reasons, then they tell her to go ahead and then seek the khulu. Some will say that why is it the case that the man has this very easy way of divorce,
and the woman has to go through all that stress.
Procedure. I mean, wallah, you need to study these things. What we discover is that women are usually very emotional, and I'm not saying this because I diss women. It's because that's the reality. I've had cases whereby a woman would complain of abuse, so much so that you yourself will feel so bad that what are you doing in this relationship? And then she goes to sit with these judges, and then I also realized that they deliberately delay women who come. So they tell that my husband is the second in command to Iblis. So those judges won't be moved. They don't get emotional. They'll say, okay, come back after 2 months, come back after 3 months, bring your husband, bring somebody. They realize that over time, if she says that my husband is Iblis because of the particular incident, she may come tomorrow and tell you that, Ustadh, my husband is Jibreel. So you allow her to, in fact, I've seen a case whereby a woman was abused, sought the khulu, and just a week after the khulu, she said the family sat and then they reconciled.
Whoa.
And then you would understand the female-initiated divorce is very more strict. If a man divorces his wife and says I've divorced you, the woman has to stay for 3 menstrual courses in the house of this woman. المطلقات يتربصن بأنفسهن ثلاثة قروء. She has to stay for 3 months. We call this the iddah. That was what Allah was referring to in that verse in Surah Al-Talaq. فَطَلِّقُوهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنْ. So within this period, she remains a wife. The husband can say that, well, I was angry.
Even after he has pronounced
divorce. And so the scholars have a principle, say, الرجعية زوجة ما بقيت في عدة. In as much as the woman remains in a iddah, a waiting period, she remains a wife. So the husband can decide that, okay, I'm calling you back. But when it comes to the female initiated divorce, immediately it is pronounced, she cannot even pull off a jilbab the next moment. It's automatic, it's over. And if you are not, you don't wait for 3 menstrual courses. You do just one. And that one is just for us to know that your womb is empty. You can't stay in that man's house again. You can't get, he's not responsible for you again. So it takes time for one to say that, look, you should seek a khulur. And then it takes all these parameters that the Sharia has laid down to govern the emotion of the woman, so that she doesn't just jump at the slightest provocation to and say that she wants to. So when she sits with these judges, they look at her. If I was a judge and the woman says, I want khulur, and I discover she's pregnant, I'll tell her, okay, go back when you give birth, and we'll listen to you. You still have the same complaint. But when women are pregnant, they get a bit batty. So they say, I'm sorry for that expression, the slightest provocation is, body with you. So you, dealing with the female initiated khulur needs a lot of maturity, a lot of patience, and things like that. May Allah SWT assist us. So at the same time also, we need to let the women know that this is valid. We have instances where things that the Sharia does not tolerate will be committed against the woman, and she keeps quiet. I was supposed to bring this introduction earlier on, but I skipped it. When there's a problem in the family, within the husband and wife, there's a procedure. At a point, Allah says, فَبَعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا إِنْ يُرِيدَا إِصْلَاحًا يُوَفِّقِ اللَّهُ بَيْنَهُمَا. When there's constant problem, and then this issue is brought to the judge. At times, it's not necessarily to the judge, but in this verse, Allah is talking about the fact that, okay, it's brought to the judge. Judge says, okay, bring somebody from your own household, from the woman's household, and somebody from the man's household, somebody who's wise, who's matured, who's knowledgeable, and both of them will sit down. If they are sincere, Allah says, he's going to make them a means to solving that problem. So if this fails, these judges can even recommend that, look, okay, the best thing is for these guys to go separately. So the female initiated khulur shouldn't be done. It's not even valid if it's unilaterally done. So there's a procedure, there's a process for it, and then it's something that is automatic. Unlike the male one, that you have a lot of things that cushion the effect of the divorce. Allah knows best.
Well. Now, Ustaz, as regards the male initiated divorce, how does a man go about it? When he says, for example, he tells his wife, I have divorced you, and we are taught that he can still take her back after 2 times, and then something happens the 3rd time. Please, can you give us some more details about that, sir?
Yeah, the male initiated divorce actually has a little more detail than the female initiated one. Number one, as I said, when you look at the conditions the Sharia lays down, you realize that the Sharia does not want the divorce. One, you cannot divorce your wife while she's having a menstrual course. You cannot divorce her outside a menstrual course when you have cohabited with her. When she's having a menstrual course, she's in haila. When she's outside a menstrual course, she's in tur. I mean, I want to throw that jargon also so that people get this one. Tur. So when she's in a tur and you had intercourse with her, you can't divorce her at that time. If you divorce her at those periods, it's called talaq bid'i. The talaq is bid'ah. So you have to call her back compulsorily, and it will be held against you that, okay, you want to divorce her. So for the man also, there has to be a legitimate reason why you're divorcing your spouse. As I said, and it is khilaf al-awla. Some will say that we have some of the salaf who divorce women. Yes, of course we have them, but of course we also have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who told Aisha radhiyallahu anha, they were having a discussion, and Aisha was telling the Prophet sallallahu about Zahi. She was talking about these women who gathered in Medina, and they were talking about their husbands. And Zahi talked about the love she had for her husband. Then at the end of the day, the husband divorced her, and after all this, the Prophet ﷺ told Aisha, said, I am to you like Abu Zar, with one condition, I won't divorce you. So the sunnah of the Prophet is that he doesn't want the woman to be divorced unless there's a compelling reason where she ought to be divorced. Infidelity, outright rebellion, it's outright rebellion, provocative behavior, and a host of issues like that. I like to use fetishness, all these other issues why the husband can divorce his wife. He doesn't divorce her while she's menstruating, he doesn't divorce her in the purity, in the Torah, as I said, and then he has 3 divorces. الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. So if somebody divorces his wife, I divorce you the first time, and so let me take my time in explaining this. So when a man says I divorce you, and then this woman is divorced, but she has to stay 3 menstrual course in the home. This 3 menstrual this period, this waiting period, the idda, is she remains a wife. He feeds her, he clothes her if there's a need for it. It is unheard of. It is impermissible for a man to tell his wife, go to your house like that, I've divorced you. You don't. I mean, the Quran says, لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن. The woman is not to be chased out of her home. In certain parts of Africa, I don't want to say in Yoruba land, you find instances whereby a man will just go and say, go to your father's house. No, divorce doesn't, it doesn't work that way. If you want to divorce, you have to follow the procedure. So when he says, I've divorced you, and then she's waiting the first menstrual period, then okay, I won't forgive you. So then he calls her back. That is one. However, if she finished the waiting period, I mean the first menstrual period, second one, third one, she becomes separate from him. If he wants to marry her, it has to be a new act. They have to sit down again and have a new act. But if she hadn't, if that waiting period hadn't expired, then he can call her back at any time, and she doesn't have a choice. Allah says, this is verse of the Quran. Their husbands have a right to them at that period. So we have had bad cases of a woman who is going through a divorce process and she didn't even finish the divorce process, or she had an issue with her husband, she left her home and she's married to somebody. So somebody else. So if she marries somebody else, leave her husband's house except with the permission of her husband. So it's zina. So these things we need to get them very clear. So we have a sister who has been protecting her chastity all this while, and then she got married, and at the end of the day, out of emotion, the same chastity she has been protecting, she sells it and throws it away because she didn't allow the divorce procedure to come to its logical conclusion. So the husband, if the waiting period, if he does the talaq 3 times, then it is not permissible for him to marry her again. Then he can't marry her again until she marries somebody else, and that also ends up in divorce. So people usually are very careful with the way they pronounce divorce. I mean, it's not a football match where you just draw red card at every provocation. So these are the rules that are attendant on the issues of talaq. And so also you have this issue. The scholar says that if you divorce a woman, you also have to give her an amount of money, most likely to be determined by societal consideration. If I didn't be mistaken in that verse. So this says that this, of course, scholars differ. It seems the most correct opinion is that anybody who is divorced must be given this. I think the English word is alimony, if I'm not mistaken. So this will be determined jurisprudentially. However, if it's somebody that I married and then I said okay, this is going to be my dowry, but I divorced her after that, so she has a right to half of that. What I said that I would give to her as dowry. But should I use the word dowry? The mahar, the sadaq, anyhow. So this is some of the things that follows the issue of divorce. Then we have issues that would come up after the divorce. I mean, the divorce is not something easy, because if you do the divorce, we'll talk about custody of kids. I mean, you know, when we were growing up, I hear that there was a divorce and then the kids end up with the with a woman, you're like, those white men didn't know what they're saying. Fortunately, as far as Islam is concerned, if you divorce your husband and your wife and she didn't get married immediately, the kids get to stay with her until they are around age 7 and 8. We call it sin temiz, where they can make at least informed decisions about themselves and they'll be given a choice. You want to stay with your dad or your mom? But initially, these kids will stay with their mother, their custody, and they, of course, you would be financially responsible for that. And these are some of the things we lack in the Southwest. We lack the judicial power to force some men. If you divorce your wife, some of these things are right, because there's no law enforcement agency that would compel men to do this. Some of them end up going away with this, but they can't go away with this in this world. Allah SWT will collect this right for the woman in the year after. So unless you overlook it. So these are some of the issues that surround even the male-initiated divorce. Allah Ta'ala Alam.
So you said the man has 3 divorces.
Yeah.
So if in one sitting he tells your wife, I divorce you 3 times.
Yeah, this became a big issue in India some time ago. Triple divorce in one city. It's a complex issue. See, at the time of the Prophet, as narrated by Abdullah Abbas and Sahih Bukhari, he said, look, if you divorce your wife 3 times in one sitting, it was counted as one. So, and it was the case also in the Khilafah, the Caliphate of Abu Bakr. It was also that same way 2 years in the Khilafah of Umar ibn Khattab, until Umar realized that people were turning it into a joke. I mean, they just sit down and say, okay, I've divorced you 3 times. They say, okay, if قد استعجل الناس في شيء لهم فيه أنا أو كما قال. People have done this, so لو أمضيناه عليه would make this thing binding on them. And then Umar, he made it a rule that if you divorce your wife 3 times in a sitting, we hold it against you. Whoa. You have divorced her. So this was a lot of the jurisprudential schools followed this rule until the time of Sheikh Islam Ibn said no. We go back to the initial rule of 3 divorces at a sitting is still counted as one divorce. This is what I also tend towards, but there might be exceptional circumstances where we go back to that Umar radhiyallahu anhu principle. So I give an example. There was a family. The husband was misbehaving, and then he was misbehaving seriously to the extent that he divorced the wife at 3 sittings.
Oh, excuse me, Ustaz, we have a caller.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. Well, we'll take that again, inshallah. Please, you can still call if you have questions. Number 08096405780. Please, you can go now, sir.
Yeah. So he divorced the wife 3 times, and then after he realized his error, he said, okay, but I mean, you remember that there was an opinion somewhere that said, okay, 3 divorces is still one. So about.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Good morning, sir. Please, what's your name and where are you calling us from?
Rashid Shita, calling from Abuja.
Yeah, what do you have to say to as regards our discussion this morning? You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I just have a question for Ustadh. Assalamu alaikum, Ustadh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much for the talk and the explanation so far. My question is, in a situation whereby the husband pronounced the talaq, and eventually when the Sharia is about to hold, and he denies that he didn't pronounce the talaq, in such case, what should happen?
Yeah, this is one of the issues that the ulama would discuss about. I mean, he is the one that pronounced the talaq, and then he said that he's denying it now. So at the end of the day, it is called. If he says that's not what I said, so we go along what he has said, that I didn't pronounce the divorce. I intended something else. of course, the exact words he used are also very important. If he says, "Go back to your husband, to your father's house," and he was asked, "What did you intend?" So I didn't intend divorce. This he didn't even have any problem here. So it goes back to that man. He's the one that at the end of the day, it's going to be his word. Allah Ta'ala alam. So of course this is issues here that ulama discuss among themselves. What's the judicial procedure in such an instance? Because this thing will become an issue only if the wife is saying that he actually did it. But if you say that, well, I didn't do it, then I'll call Allah.
So basically, we have this scenario where it has happened twice. I think out of annoyance or something, so he pronounced the talaq. And when the Sharia is about to hold according to what is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to let it go. In such case, which the woman also knows that she can no longer continue with the marriage.
Yeah.
Being that he has pronounced it twice. So in such case, should she still sit back?
Yeah.
Or she needs to let go?
It's a very interesting question, and it cuts into a lot of areas. Number one, you mentioned the issue of annoyance. Annoyance is divided into two. I mean, there is no way one will divorce a person one loves without there being an element of anger. Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah in his book Ashar Umunti, however, said that look, there's a form of annoyance that the husband actually didn't realize he didn't realize that was what he was going to say. So in such an instance, you have the difference of opinion among the scholars that okay, in such a situation, such will not be held against him if ordinarily he was so annoyed that he uttered what he didn't intend to utter. So let's not assume that actually he intended this and he uttered the talaq 3 times. One who fears Allah will not go and say that it's not 3 times already, because he knows that the implication is zina. If he has done it 3 times, the implication is zina. If the wife is sure that he has done it the 3rd time and he is lying, then she initiates a khulu and decides, okay, if you don't want to let me go, then I am ready to leave you. For such a person, it's going to be dangerous for the woman to remain with him if he can lie at that level of seriousness. Allahu
Well, we have thank you very much, brother. We have another call. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, we lost our call. Please, Ustaz, you were mentioning a case scenario, sir.
Yeah, so in that instance where we see that a brother wants to maliciously use this fatwa, they will implement the rule of Umar ibn Khattab. So they said this rule is still valid for criminals of your nature. But ordinarily, the 3 talaq supposed to be one at a particular instance. Allah knows best. I think another issue we should mention, the ila and the zihar and then the ma'ana are also important, but I mean not as important as the judicial fasakh. The fasakh is like you go to the courts and say, I want this marriage annulled.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Good morning, ma. What's your name? Where are you calling us from?
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Good morning, ma. What's your question?
Good morning. Please, I want to ask the question from the lecturer.
Now, you are listening, ma. He's here, ma.
Hello?
Hello. Please go on with your question.
Okay. I said in the case if the man lets the wife, after the husband pronounced to the wife that he no longer wants the marriage, so the man lets the woman for some months. Can we call that divorce also?
The question is not clear. I mean, if the husband likes the wife and then says it's no longer interested, can we call it divorce? Is that?
Yes. He left the wife, he told the wife that he's no longer interested in the marriage.
Yeah.
So he left the home.
Okay.
So let's say after leaving the home, after 3 months, can the woman go for another marriage?
That's a very good question. So if he actually said, I am no longer interested in this marriage, this is clear, he's saying that I've divorced you, and he left the home. The wife would start her iddah. From that moment he said, I'm no longer interested in this marriage, and then after a third menstrual course, she can now go for another marriage. However, if he left the home without there being a categorical pronouncement of divorce, that I've divorced you, thus this woman will remain a wife. What she would do is to now seek out the Sharia court, the Sharia sitting, the Sharia panel, or scholars that the man listens to, and then call him and tell him, take a stance. So in this case, the rule of Ila may come up. I said earlier, this is a situation where a man would leave his wife and then so I'm not going to cohabit with her, and then before the advent of Islam, Arabs would do this for a year, 2 years. That Sharia now lays down a foundation. You have 4 months. If you leave your wife somewhere, hanging somewhere, after 4 months, if you do not go back to her, some scholars who say that it's divorced automatically. The most correct opinion is to say that the woman will now seek the consent of the court, and the court will compel him to either go back or to let her go. So if he had said, I am no longer interested in this marriage, I've divorced you, and then he leaves home, after a waiting period, she can marry another person. But if he has not said this, or if he has said it in such a way that it's not clear, then we need to know what he's actually saying, and then base our decisions on that. Allah knows best.
Well, thank you very much, Sister Barakat. Assalamu alaikum. Well, and in case you're still wondering how you can reach us here, the number to dial is 080-9640-5786. You can also send text messages, and you can also leave a voice message on WhatsApp. Inshallah, we'll be waiting for your questions. So, Ustaz, we've said a whole lot as you guys know. And now I have a case scenario.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that if a man leaves his wife for about 4 months, then he has to, something has to be done to ensure that the marriage is still in a kind of situation whereby, we have another call again. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Please, what's your name and where are you calling us from?
Abu Ammar from Ibadan.
Madam, you have a question. Please go ahead with your question, sir.
Alright, thank you very much. We're glad to have Ustadh around today.
Alhamdulillah.
Now, so the question is, in the course of the conversation, you made mention of a situation whereby a woman is living in marriage after the talaq has been pronounced by the husband, that a certain amount should be given. I was saying, we have instances whereby in the course of the marriage, probably the request that my husband recites a certain part of the Quran from me as my mahar. In that case, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, this will need us to carefully analyze. Number one, I hold, and of course I can't be wrong, the recitation of the Quran as a sadaq, is invalid. What we have is the Prophet ﷺ telling the companion to teach. And this is quantifiable. Ulama will say that it's something mutaqawwim, something that's quantifiable. Of course, we have the instance whereby the Islam of a husband was made the mar. But the recitation of the Quran is not something that is quantifiable as imam. That is first point. Second point, I'm not talking about the khul'u here. In the khul'u, the verse says, bihi, she has to give back what she took as sadaq, as dowry. But I'm not talking about that here. What I'm talking about is something different. What I'm talking about is that if I divorce a man, a woman, there is something I should give to her. That we have some who say that the verse is mansukh. Surah Al-Baqarah says, "Walil mutalaqat yani mata'un bil ma'ruf." And those who have been divorced amongst women should have mata'. Mata' is something that we give to them bil ma'ruf, with what is known in that environment. So, like in Maliki fiqh, this is upheld that look, you just have to give her something that is good. At least not the issue of the khulu'u. A woman who does khulu'u wouldn't be given this. I mean, she opted out. She's even given something to go out of it. But this applies to a woman that a man divorces and then he gives her something as a parting gift.
Thank you very much. I hope you've gotten your question.
Yeah, I think, yes, I do. I think I have one more question.
We have other calls, sir. You can send a text message on WhatsApp for your questions, and inshallah we'll attend to them. Assalamu alaikum.
Alright, thank you, everyone. Alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, the last question the brother asked made me think of make something. I mean, when we go through divorce processes, it's highly rancorous. The love we had initially becomes outright hatred. But the fact of the matter is that we still have to relate with ourselves. This is what we don't get. Before you think about divorce, you have to put all this into perspective. So Allah talks about the fact that in Surah Al-Talaq, when he was saying that وَإِنْ أَرْضَعْنَ لَكُمْ فَآتُوهُنَّ أُجُورَهُنَّ وَإِنْ كُنَّ أُولَاتُ أَحْمَالِ فَانْفِقُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ حَتَّى يَضَعْنَ حَمْلَهُنَّ. If they are pregnant, you still have to spend on them. If they breastfeed your child, you still have to give them something. All this shows that there's still going to be a relationship between your husband and the wife. It shouldn't always end with such a situation that the rancor is such that we wouldn't even relate again. And then seeing the kids, custody becomes World War III. So, I mean, that love should not be something that lives absolutely when we have the talaq. And that's why we need to discuss.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Now, good morning, sir. What's your name and where are you calling us from, sir?
This is Abu Amina from Wari.
Thank you very much, sir. You have a question?
I have a question. My question is about the issue of code.
Of course, now.
When woman requests separation from her husband.
Yeah.
Now, if this has been established after the man has pronounced separation or divorce to her, based on her request.
Yeah.
Now, can she marry her back after she's through with her either?
No.
Or she has to fight another man before she can be liable for the first husband?
And that's why these questions are very important. So if a woman does the khulu'u, as I said, it's automatic. Even the iddah there is more like an istibra, to know that a womb is free. So when she does that single menstruation, yes, automatically the man can say that I want to marry you back. It's okay, no problem. There will just be a new act. The only problem is that some of our parents need to be carried along about some of these rules. I mean, people just assume that what do we need to sit on again? We've reconciled you guys. Go on self and continue having your love life. No, it has to be a new act, a new offer and acceptance, a new dowry and things like that. New witnesses, and new walima.
MashaAllah.
if the husband is ready to do that. So we just need to carry our folks along with this. So she can't marry him immediately after she's through with the iddah. I don't think there's even anything prohibiting stopping her from marrying him even before the expiration of the iddah. So he can go ahead and marry her again. Allah knows best.
Thank you very much, sir.
No.
So Ustadh, moving on with that case scenario that we mentioned, in a kind of situation whereby a couple they live in the same house under the same roof, however they have been apart as regards sexual relations for years, is it, and they don't want to contemplate divorce at all, they still want to, when you bring an issue of divorce forth, they don't even want to attend you. Is it possible to force them into divorce, or what should be done in that kind of situation?
Yeah. Now it's their choice. If a man or a woman decide that we are going to have a sexless relationship and they are both okay with it, two of them are cool with it, then it's not a problem. It's left to them.
No, they keep fighting, there's violence and all of that.
Then this is the case. The woman will be told that look, you have the choice of opting out of this relationship, and you feel that I love the beatings, I love the nonsense, and yeah, that's the case. If she feels that, okay, I mean, I still want to stay here, then after we've advised that this is the best thing, then an insan amirun nafsihi, the individual is in total control of himself or herself. The only situation that will need to be hashed on her, then look, you have to opt out, is a situation whereby the husband is committing shirk. And we've seen this with sisters who have understanding. Outright shirk is being committed. I mean, it's not, clear shirk. I'm not talking about shirk that you would think twice, is this shirk or not. Now, real shirk where the husband will be going around with sacrifices, incantations, and things like that, and you find this sister who say that, I will continue coping. That is madness. So we tell her that you cannot remain in marriage with a mushrik or somebody who is on the verge of being a mushrik. In this case, if you continue here, you're going to be sinning. Or a situation whereby the husband is hampering our religious obligations and religious duties. In such instances, we need to really would need to speak to her very harshly that, look, you can't remain here. So, but in other cases, she feels that I'm being beaten, but I'm comfortable with it. There's no sex in the marriage, I'm comfortable with it, then it's our choice. However, no normal human being will be comfortable with such issues. The problem, and I think this is why we should really talk about divorce more in our society. In as much as we are getting married, we are going to be getting divorce cases. What I've realized, and when we talk about divorce, sisters always feel that, no, of course, when we talk about marrying a second, not divorce, marrying a second wife, a third wife, a fourth wife, one would ask, someone's going to say, Al-Asfar, what does polygyny have to do with divorce? That's a lot to do with it. So when you look at the fact that you see women in marriages that are abusive, no normal human being will want to stay in an abusive relationship. A woman that beats you, a man that beats you so much, and you still want to cope there. The reason she's staying there is because she believes if she leaves that marriage, she doesn't have any other place to go. That this is the problem. This is why she's staying there. So some of our sisters who are, I don't want to use feminists because feminism is something that some feel is condemnable totally. Some just call them women rights activists. Sisters rights activists. So you are not supposed to be against polygyny. You're supposed to encourage it. The reason why a lot of women suffer in bad marriages is because they are afraid where they want to end up. In Europe or in the West that we so much follow, they have no problem with sleeping around. So it's no problem. But so a young sister here, her hormones are still firing. She has a child, she has two kids, she knows that she can't go back home and things like that. She needs somewhere else to go. And there's no other place she has to go than to go to another man's house. So we need to, as I said earlier, the environment of the Prophet, there were divorces. But what you realize is that women were not left hanging. But there's a woman called Zawjatu Shuhada. Each husband she marries dies as a martyr. So if you marry her, you die as a martyr. So, people were marrying her like that. We don't want women to just be left, hanging somewhere. What we want is the principle, for every woman that is divorced, there should be a man to pick her up. And when we talk about this issue also, we address men also that, look, there's nothing wrong in marrying a woman with kids. There's nothing wrong in marrying a woman with kids. In as much as you do it religiously, you earn rewards by doing this, especially if the woman is somebody who is in an abusive relationship. So, may Allah give us a firm understanding. And it's good we're talking about this. People, what I realize is that the more we talk about this and people realize that it's part and parcel of our deen, it's easier for them to practice. May Allah assist each one of us.
Well, I'm sure I've said the word of Hafiz. You must have one or two things that you want to say as regards this.
Like I said earlier, I'm here to learn. Wallah, I've learned so much today. And my question for the Ustadh is coming closer to the end of the show. And even for our listeners, for people, probably our dear listeners or listeners, they probably found themselves doing Hilal or Girah or something, and they are in that situation. Probably they have done that. They had a divorce with their husband, and probably the woman didn't stay for the 3 months she has to stay, or her 3 menstrual courses time she has to stay, and now she's married to another person. She's doing zina, like you said earlier. So what is the expiation she has to do? Does she need to continue with that new marriages like that, or there's something she has to do?
Yeah, okay, let me explain this. See, if the husband pronounced divorce,
Yes.
or she left the husband's house
Okay.
without there being a divorce, let me start from there. If she left the husband's house without being a divorce, there was a record of the divorce was not clear,
Yes.
so she remains married to that man. Even if she marries the second person, she's going to initiate it legally that I want out. Are you following? And the thing is this: if the husband hadn't pronounced divorce, the idda would start from the day. Okay, she was out of the house for 8 years, and after 8 years she wanted to normalize. That waiting period will start after that 8 years. So also after the 3 months have So okay, if it's sure whereby she was divorced actually, but she didn't wait for the idda before she went ahead and married someone else, she's already divorced.
Yes.
Are you following? But in this case, she can't stay in that relationship because the time she did the act, that act was invalid. So what she needs to do in this case is to have another act because she was actually divorced. So it's sure whether she just packs out of her home and says that, hey, I've had it with this man, I'm no longer interested. That one is more serious because she would opt out of that marriage, and then she will need to go back to her husband and then formalize either the marriage or the divorce. As you said, we're coming to the end of the program. I just want to put this out. You know, our generation is a generation that we were raised as Westerners, or we had a lot of Western influence on us via our education, the TV, the radio, the books we read. So the assumption is always there that every marriage should be Cinderella-like. I call it the Cinderellization of marriage. The assumption that every marriage should end in and they lived happily ever after. That is not the way the world operates. That's not the way the world operates. In the real world, in outside of fairy tales, marriages are sustained. Marriages collapse. You don't go to marriage and accept that everything's going to be like sugar candy mountain. There are challenges in marriage. You have absorbed the reasons why sisters are opting out of marriage. I've absorbed the reasons why brothers are opting out of marriage. And then these things are to be condemned. I read something on social media some days ago. A brother who divorced his wife because she wasn't good in bed. How on earth did he know she wasn't good in bed if he had not been sleeping around? And then these are some of the madness that we're coping with in society. So we don't just want a situation where marriage becomes a plaything. A plaything. You need to realize there are challenges in marriage. You're coming from a background that's slightly different from our background. She's coming from a background that's different from yours. You need to cope with a lot of things. So marriage is not Cinderella. It's not a fairy tale. It's a real world. There are pains. There are gains. May Allah SWT give us very good hopes.
I have one final question, Ustaz. As regards what you said, that a man, if a man divorces his wife for the third time, before he can marry her back, she has got to be married to someone else and then divorced. Does that mean that she goes into that marriage with the intention of getting divorced? So she can go back to her husband.
This is a very good point, and then it's also very sensitive. So I saw a documentary, unfortunately on the BBC, far media, in the UK, whereby this woman got divorced for a very abusive relationship, and there was a ring of people who were offering these services. So if you get divorced the third time, you pay me an amount of money, I get married to you, do the papers, then I'll divorce you after a month, and then you have a lot of abuses. Somebody you have paid $10,000, $5,000, that was the amount they're paying for some of these services. So the person they say that, okay, I'm not even divorcing you again. I need another 3 months. All this is happening because it's halal marriages. So it is not allowed for the man to enter such a marriage with the intent to just sleep with her and then divorce her. It's not allowed. Because if she marries, if she does the act, I mean, you should look at this and try to block it. It's possible that she decided, okay, I'll just do the act and then I'll call it quits. No. There must be intercourse. At least there must be penetration. So a woman can actually do that. She can decide, okay, I want to get married, but in her heart she understands that I want to go back to my initial husband. But the man cannot. It is haram for the man. The Prophet ﷺ caused a man who goes into such an arrangement. Let me analyze her for you. It's haram. But a woman can decide, okay, what I have in mind is that I still want to go back to my husband, and then I would. In fact, there was a woman who had such a divorce letter with the Prophet ﷺ, and then she came to complain about her husband. And the brother said, no, you want to go back to your earlier husband? No, you have to have intercourse with your new husband. And the way it was, she didn't come back again after that, after the intercourse. So for a woman, she may have that in mind. For the man, it is categorically permissible. Your last one, give us a form son.
Wow, thank you very much, Ustadh. Jazakallah. I have learned a whole lot, and I'm sure that our listeners, they must have also learned a whole lot. It's like a new total package of schooling here this morning. And I pray that Allah makes it easy for us all to incorporate all that we have learned into our daily lifestyle. Thank you very much, Ustaz. And just before we round off, do you still have any final note that you might want to leave, or we can round up, sir?
Myself?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My final note is this: just let us live our lives as Muslims. I mean, I read an article in the American Journal of Islamic Social Sciences way back. I mean, the title of the article was "Windows and Mirrors." Windows here, how you look at the outside world, and mirrors here means how you look at yourself. We should look at ourselves and the outside world and relate with the outside world within the Islamic paradigm. So you see Muslims who, when issues happen, issues of marriage, issues of when we are angry, when we are happy, we tend to outsource our decisions to non-Islamic sources. Whatever you want to do, ask about the rule of Islam. Udkhulu fi silmi kafa. Enter into Islam totally and completely. Your mirror of assessing yourself should be Islam. What are the rules of what I'm doing? Whether it's divorce, whether it's talaq, whether it's even anything. And then your window of looking at people should also be Islam. A lot of problems will be solved if this is done. May Allah SWT give us a firm understanding.
Thank you very much, Ustaz. Well, and that's what we're going to round up today on our training lifestyle. May Allah spare our lives. We'll take an ashid break and get ready for a daily motivation. Assalamu alaikum.
This is EN Radio. Nigeria's first Muslim radio.